Hi, welcome to your beginners class today with me, Leo. So we're going to come into Utkatasana, which I'm going to show from the side. So we have to keep the tailbone long, so I'll demonstrate this first and then we'll do this together. We have to keep the tailbone long, the frontal pelvic bones lifted. So we do this by stretching the arms up and bending at the knees. Okay, so let's do that one together. Extend the arms down, take the weight back into the heels. Inhale, stretch up, bend down. Weight back into the heel bones, tailbone long, so don't let your tailbone stick out behind you. Keep it pointing towards the floor. Keep taking the weight back into the heel bones, stretch the arms up, keep the arms by the ears. See, can you bend the ankles a little bit more? Tough on that flexion of the ankles. Keep breathing, you need to breathe in this pose, it's a strong pose. And coming up, roll your shoulders back and down, stretch down with the fingers, extend up with the crown of the head. So line up the outer edges of the feet with the outer edges of the mat. Be careful in all of your poses that you get your alignment correct. Press down into the outer edges of the feet just like you did in Utkatasana. Lift here through the frontal hip bones. Remember that action in Utkatasana of the tailbone being long, keep that action there. You can place your fingertips here on the front of the pelvis to keep that lift through the frontal pelvic bones as you start to hinge forwards. So come to wherever you can come to and place your hands. This is not competition to see who can get down the furthest. So we're going to extend the front of the breastbone towards the narrow end of your mat. Draw the shoulder blades down towards your back waist. Breathe through the nasal passages. Alright, and slowly coming up. Good. Come back to the centre, stand in Tadasana, just give yourselves a few moments. Allow yourselves to settle after that forward bending action. So I'm just going to show how we're going to work for the next action. So you can stay in your Tadasana while you're watching the demonstration for Trikonasana triangle pose. We're going to step or jump the feet wide and we're going to turn the feet to the right. So I'm not going through these instructions very carefully because we're going quite quickly in this action. So you've seen the pose. I'll give you a few more instructions as we come into it together. So starting in Tadasana, if you have any problems, knees, back, ankles, hips, then please do step your feet apart. Otherwise you can jump. Soften the knees and take the feet apart. Make sure that the outer edges of the feet line up with the outer edges of the mat so that toes are pointing forwards in this intermediate action. Lengthen your tailbone. Remember that action in Utkatasana, where was your tailbone pointing? Towards the floor. Open your chest, stretch into your fingertips. Lift onto the heel of the left foot, pivot that foot in 15 degrees. Turn the whole of your right leg and foot out to 90 degrees. Just have a quick check to make sure that your alignment is correct. Heel lines up with instep, frontal thigh rotating. So stretch into your fingers and extend over, keep breathing, come into the action and stretch that top arm up. So really get the length and extension on the top arm. Extend the crown of the head beyond the narrow end of your mat. What's happened to your front leg? Have you lost the kneecap? So lift the kneecap on that front leg and keep turning and rotating that right thigh, right at the very root. Use your back leg to lift you up, turn the feet to face forwards, and we're going to go straight to the other side. So you're turning the right foot in 15 degrees, left leg and foot out to 90. Check the alignment again, just in case it's got lost. Have you lost this rotational action here on your front thigh? Keep lifting through that front leg, kneecap, thigh muscle. Keep extending into the fingertips and come into your Trikonasana. So when we're in the Trikonasana again, we have to check what's happening. Press firmly into the outer edge of the back foot. Rotate that frontal leg thigh muscle. It's amazing how quickly that can drop if you don't pay attention to it. So move your left groin forwards towards the front of the mat. Now use that back leg, press into the outer edge of the back foot to lift you, turn the feet to face forwards, and step or jump the feet to stand in Tadasana. Roll the shoulders back and down. We're going to come for Ardha Chandrasana. Now this is a pose that many of you will find challenging. So this is half moon pose, and we come to it from a Trikonasana action. From Trikonasana, you take your top hand down. You bend your front leg. So I'm hoping I've given myself enough space here. You bring your hand forwards, you step in, and then the hand comes forwards, and you lift up and turn and rotate. And then you bring your top arm up. So it can be a bit of a challenge, this action, on the balance. Now, what you have to do at this stage is maybe look around your room and see whether you have something that you can balance to, if that's appropriate for you. Some of you will balance perfectly well. Others will need maybe a wall, or you can use the back of a sofa. I'll just show to the wall. So if I was using a wall, I'm showing to the other side now. I take that hand down, I'll be back against the wall, and then lifting the leg up, and it's quite nice because not only does it give you the balance, but it also gives you good alignment. You may find that kitchen cupboards are quite useful for this, depending on what screen you're watching this on. However, for those of you for whom this is just too difficult, that's fine, don't worry about it. If you're fairly new to yoga, this is quite a challenging pose to do, so you might prefer, in that case, to just do the Trikonasana part, or the triangle pose part, and just leave the Ardha Chandrasana for the moment. Alright, so if you've found yourself a piece of wall or somewhere appropriate to work to, you take your mat there, you take your screen there. Starting Tadasana. Soften the knees. And now we're going to come into our Trikonasana. You know the instructions for this now. The top hand can come down, you bend your front leg, hand comes forwards, and you step in, you lift up, you turn and rotate the chest, and then if you've got your balance, your top arm comes up. Now when you come out of the pose, you come out as you went in, you soften the front leg knee, soft, graceful, big step back, and coming into Trikonasana and up. Step or jump the feet, stand in Tadasana, just give yourselves a little bit of time in Tadasana between the sides. So we're going to go to the other side now. So you know what you're doing. Take the feet wide and come into your Trikonasana. Back foot in slightly, hold the front leg and foot out completely. Trikonasana. Top hand down onto your top hip. So that action of keeping the chest facing forwards that we did in the other two poses, really important for this. Bend your front leg. So you bring your thumb so that it's about a foot ahead of your little toe. So it's about 30 centimetres ahead of the little toe. And then you step that back foot in, and then as you straighten the front leg, you're also lifting that back leg. So it's just coming up with the straightening of the front leg. Roll the top shoulder up and back. And then, if you've got your balance, extend your top arm up. So these balancing poses, very challenging, but boy do they focus the mind. Just what we need at the moment. Alright, so soften your front leg to come out of the pose, come out of it by coming back into a Trikonasana action. Check your alignment again, stretch up with the top hand, and coming up, turn the feet face forwards and step or jump the feet back into the centre. Breathe. Adho Mukha Virasana. So it might be that you need some equipment for this. Many of our students find that kneeling is difficult. Sitting back on the heels can be tough if there's a problem with the knees. And for some people, the diaphragm gets a bit trapped in this pose. So if you find that you have difficulty breathing in this, obviously it's not a good idea to not breathe in any of the yoga poses that you're doing. If you find your diaphragm gets a bit trapped when you're in this pose, Adho Mukha Virasana, you can always lift your head up a little, like that, onto a couple of foam pads, maybe even higher than that, onto 4 foam pads. For some people, that's necessary. And when you're stressed, this area does get very, very tight. Some people find that they need to have a bolster there, either because the knees are difficult or because the buttocks lift. So you can keep the bolster there if either of those things apply. Okay? And if you have a bolster on between your bottom and your heels, then it's best to have the head raised onto something as well, so you don't tip down into the pose. But many of you will be able to come into this pose quite easily by just extending forwards, keeping the buttocks back onto the heels and resting the head down. So have the knees slightly wider than the pelvis. You want the outer edges of the ribs supported by the central plane of the thighs. Keep the elbows lifted, keep the wrists lifted, and spread your fingers. Press down with the palms of the hands. Come back into a lying down position, holding onto your shins and just rocking from side to side on the back of the pelvis, just releasing out any tension in the back. So just rock from side to side, holding onto the shins. If it's difficult holding onto the shins, you can always hold onto the back of the thighs. Just let that sacral region open and release with this action. Alright, now roll to your right and come up, and then gently bring yourselves into a seated position. You can sit on your bolster or any other equipment that you have to hand. Keep your chest lifted, let the head bow down. And now when you're ready, lift your head and gently lift the eyelids. So thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again next time. Namaste.